Here are 5 players you can drop from your fantasy football team before NFL Week 5. What's up? Zach Brunner here from FlurrySports, and let's talk 5 players you can just drop off your fantasy football team and not lose any sleep. Now, these are players that are not must drops. You don't need to go and find these people on your fantasy team and drop them willy-nilly without thinking. But these are players that I don't think you need to lose any sleep over if you need to make room for an injury pickup, for a bye week fill-in, whatever it may be. You just don't need to keep these guys on your bench. It's not going to do you any good. So with that in mind, I made sure these players are owned in over 2/3 of ESPN fantasy leagues. And let's take a look at the very first one. That's going to be Travis Hunter, Jacksonville Jaguars rookie. Now, Travis Hunter has been one of the most hyped up rookies we have seen in some time, but boy, he has not lived up to that hype, has he? Just this past week against the Niners, he had a fine game, I suppose, but he finally just crossed 100 yards for the season. And also, his offensive snaps have settled around just 50% now. He's averaging just over 3 catches per game. He's averaging under 2 fantasy points per touch in PPR fantasy leagues. Yes, he's talented. Yes, he's probably more talented on the defensive side of the ball, but the production's not there. The execution isn't there. Let's be honest, this Jacksonville Jaguars offense isn't that good, and Hunter isn't the go-to guy. He's not even the second in line, not really the third in line. Like, do we need the 5th or 6th best target on the Jacksonville Jaguars offense? I don't. The next wide receiver we'll talk about is Cooper Kupp, veteran receiver for the Seattle Seahawks. He's still owned in 82% of ESPN fantasy leagues. I like Cooper Kupp, and I think he has more weeks where he's worthy of a start. However, things aren't working in his favor right now. He's healthy, which is something I don't feel confident saying for any future week, yet he just isn't performing. He's played over 70% of the snaps just twice, and it's led to 1 good game. That game was 7 catches for 90 yards, but he hasn't scored a touchdown yet, and his next highest receiving total was just 31 yards. He doesn't have that extremely talented quarterback anymore, and Kupp isn't creating enough separation to see the ball a bunch from Sam Darnold. He averages just under 30 air yards per game, and he's not going to be doing anything after the catch, right? On top of that, Torrey Horton has looked extremely talented. If the Seahawks are going to be playing 11 personnel later in the season, I can see Horton taking a lot of those snaps. Next up is Isiah Pacheco, Kansas City Chiefs running back. He's owned in 85% of ESPN leagues. Again, not a must drop. Pacheco's probably 1 injury away from being borderline flex worthy, right? If Kareem Hunt goes down, Pacheco's going to see a bunch of snaps, but the issue is he's not getting those snaps. Right now, he's splitting with Hunt pretty evenly. He started the year around 50% snap share, 50, 58, 55. In this past week against the Ravens, that dropped to 37%. Kareem Hunt finally overtook him there. Do I think that's a sign of things to come? Not necessarily. I think it's still 50-50, but the issue is he's splitting 50-50 with Kareem Hunt, and then he's not getting the most valuable snaps. Pacheco's getting just 1.5 red zone looks per game, so those precious snaps, the opportunity to score touchdown is going to Kareem Hunt. So if Pacheco's not going to score a touchdown, he's not seeing a bunch of snaps, he's not seeing a bunch of targets, and the overall Chiefs running game isn't very efficient, tell me, what is Isiah Pacheco going to do? And like I said, he's not a must drop, because if Kareem Hunt gets hurt, I do think that Pacheco is going to see more time, right? Like, that's just logical. He's going to see more time. However, the running game isn't efficient right now, so I don't think that's magically going to be more efficient. And then Brashard Smith, the rookie, is starting to get mixed in a little bit more. That's also why we saw Pacheco snap so low this past week. Smith's going to be that 3rd down guy. He's going to be the guy catching passes. So, yet again, I don't really see much of a reason to keep Isiah Pacheco. If you can include him in a trade as like just that filler, that second player, you're trading 2 players for 1 just to upgrade somewhere, I absolutely would do that. He still has some name value to some people, but for me, even if you don't want to drop your kicker, if you don't want to drop your defense or something in a deeper league, drop Isiah Pacheco. I don't think it really matters. Let's go to another running back. That's Tyrone Tracy. He's still owned in 70% of ESPN fantasy leagues. Obviously, Tracy missed this past week with a shoulder injury, and it seems like he's probably going to miss some more time with that shoulder injury. Could be a multi-week injury here. And that's already a red flag, right? Like if a running back has a shoulder injury, no good, no bueno. The bigger issue is that with Tyrone Tracy out, Cam Scatterbo's been terrific. He's been outstanding. And I don't think the Giants have a reason to move away from that. Obviously, we know that Tyrone Tracy is good enough where if he is healthy, he will see some snaps. But those are just the snaps that Devin Singletary has right now. Make no mistake, this is Cam Scatterbo's backfield now, and the Giants have no reason to go away from that. So if you need to drop Tyrone Tracy, he's not helping you this next week. He's probably not helping you the week after that. And I can't imagine he's going to help you the rest of the season if Cam Scatterbo's healthy. Finally, Mark Andrews is owned in 86% of ESPN fantasy leagues. I know the tight end position's tough, but if you're not starting Mark Andrews right now, you don't need to keep him on your bench and pray he turns into a consistent player. Now, if Lamar Jackson misses time, it's possible Cooper Rush leans on the big-bodied Andrews, but that's not going to last long. In the first game with Isaiah likely back, Andrews played just 55% of the snaps. That's not enough. That's not enough to be consistent for fantasy football. With him, you're hoping for a touchdown. And sure, he is more likely to score one than the average tight end, but there are several lower-owned tight end options that would make for a much better bench player and even a start this week. So those are 5 players you could drop heading into week 5 to fill in for an injury, a bye week fill-in, whatever it may be. Maybe you want to go claim Woody Marks. Maybe you want Wan'Dale Robinson or Darius Slayton, thinking one of the two is going to be terrific after the Malik Neighbors injury, right? Who knows? Doesn't matter. I just don't think you need these players. If there's other players that you think are worthy of this drop list, definitely leave them in the comments below. And if you have any fantasy questions whatsoever, definitely drop them below, or you can ask me on Twitter at FantasyFlurry. You can join the membership, buymeacoffee.com/Zach Brunner, ZachBrunner. $5 a month gets you access to a private group chat, gets you a shout out on live streams. It gets you my opportunity index, all in-season stats. It's a great deal. Check the link in the description below, and I'll see you very soon. Goodbye. Fuck yeah.